Hi there, how are you? This is Lois. Welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time here, welcome. Please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications. If you are my regular fan, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate that. Today, we are continuing with the discussion that we started a few weeks ago about life in Canada. So you already have your visa, you have your job, or you have your PR. Congratulations. You've looked at the province, you've looked at the city, and now the main question is, where are you gonna get a house and what kind of a house will you get? So that is why we are talking here tonight. There are a few factors that you want to consider before you get that house, and they are going to dictate even the kind of a house you will get. And the first one, the most important one, is your family setting, your constitution of your family. So the needs that you have as a single person or as a couple are totally different from the needs that you have as a family. So you are going to need maybe a bigger house. When you have a family, you're going to consider a neighborhood that is more attractive to families. If you have children, or if you have university going children, you may consider living near the universities. Okay, that now says, what do you need to look at? Your budget. How much money do you have? Your budget determines your bills. So if you have a lot of money, you're going to be spoiled for choice. If you don't have a lot of money and you're working on budget, you may want to look at the various housing available. We have cheaper options, which I'm going to be talking about momentarily when I talk about renting. Okay? You want to consider where you are going to be looking for work. You are new, maybe if you don't have a job. If you're looking for white collar jobs, and especially here in Calgary, you want to be looking near downtown. So you want to live somewhere near downtown or someplace that is accessible to downtown, just so then that you're looking for a job, and when you get a job, you have an easier commute. Another thing that I talked about there is schools. So there are some areas that have really good schools, some areas have a lot of schools. So you want to consider that. The age of your children, the availability of kindergartens or junior highs or high schools or even universities. So that is something that you should be considering. Another thing is transportation. I have said before that Calgary's transportation, public transportation is not the best. And you may need a car. So while you don't have a car, or while you're just depending on one family car, you may wanna consider where you're living, just so that you're not spending a lot of time in traffic. Okay? The most important thing, in my opinion, is which quadrant, which neighborhood. And this is more so for people with families. Here in Calgary, I say that we have 4 quadrants. We have the northeast, northwest, southeast, and the southwest. Not all quadrants are created equal. Some are more preferred, some are more attractive to people with families. And I know here in Calgary, a lot of immigrants like living in the northeast. I think there's a belief that it's cheaper in the northeast. Not so in my opinion. Because you can always find affordable housing in every quadrant, even in the high-end areas. The way they design neighborhoods here, there's going to be expensive homes and there's going to be affordable homes. Maybe the affordable homes are going to be smaller, but then again, you can still find good and affordable homes in every quadrant. You do not necessarily have to live in the northeast. I know there's a little bit more crime in the northeast, so you may want to consider that. Okay? Yeah, so what kind of housing is available here? One thing I want to say, if you have family or relatives, and friends, you may want to live where these people are. And whether you're renting, it's okay. But the first few days, if you get someone to host you, that is usually a very good idea. If someone is graceful enough to host you and you are a good house guest, I think that is a very good idea. One thing to note though, This is a different community. It's a different, and there's a different culture here. We don't bring our nannies. So most of the people here don't have nannies. So we do everything ourselves. So if someone is hosting you, please be hostable, please, my dear. Be hostable. As much as you're not going to be contributing to the groceries of the house, help around. Don't come and sit down and wait to be served. No, we don't do that. We don't roll like that. Come and help around, whether it's the cleaning or just the general upkeep of the house. Clean up after yourself. Be a good house guest. Another thing is, please have a plan. Do not plan to be hosted by someone indefinitely. Have a plan, whether it's a month, 2, I think a maximum 3 months, you should be hosted by someone before you figure out something else for you. So have an exit plan and work on it, okay? All right, you all know that familiarity breeds contempt. So you do not want to be living in someone's house, whether it's a couch or a basement, for too long, okay? You still want to preserve those friendships. And when someone is hosting you, they are going out of their comfort zone. They are bringing you into their house. So please come there with all the manners and a plan to get out as soon as possible. Okay, enough about that. One thing, if you don't know anybody, one good thing that you can do is get yourself an Airbnb. Airbnbs are available here. You're going to be spoiled for choice, and they are Airbnbs for every budget. So most Airbnbs, if you take longer, like maybe 28 days, a month or 2 months, you get longer, you get higher discounts. So you may want to look at Airbnbs, and they are, as again, I said that they are Airbnbs for every budget. You can find an Airbnb that can sleep 4 people, that has even if it's 1 bedroom, has a bedroom with 1 bed and a couch. There is a pull-out couch, so it can sleep 4 people, and some of these you can find maybe even for $70 a night. Good thing with Airbnb, they are furnished. They have everything, utensils, so you only bring yourself, your food, and your clothes, okay? One rule to Airbnb, please follow the rules of the Airbnbs. Leave them clean and abide by the rules of that Airbnb, and you're going to have a good time. If you're coming to Calgary and you need help with an Airbnb, please feel free to reach out to me, okay? All right, I'll also be putting a link for the Airbnb down at the description of this video. Another thing that you may consider doing if you don't know anybody is living in a hotel for the first few weeks, first few days. You can live in a hotel before you figure out what you're gonna do. There are hotels again for every budget. You can live at Fairmont or you can live in a cheap motel. There are some really decent cheap motels available also, and there are some hotels that do actually take longer term stays. So you may want to look at that. If maybe you want to rent, you can rent an apartment, and there are various types of, not necessarily an apartment, you can rent a house, and there are various types of houses that you can rent here. The first one and the cheapest is a basement. And when I talk about a basement, it's a lower level suite in a main house. So basements, we have 2 types of basements. We have a walk-in basement and a walk-out basement. A walk-in basement, usually you go through the main house, then you go downstairs to your suite. A walkout basement has a separate entry, either at the side of the house or at the back of the house, that leads you down to the suite. Good thing with basements, they are cheap. They're actually the most affordable types of housing we have. So they are cheap and they are also readily available. So you may want to look at that. As long as you don't have a big family, you should not have a problem looking for a basement. I myself, I lived in a basement for a while, and the good thing with a basement is mostly the price you pay is inclusive of everything, all the utilities. So most likely you're not going to be paying anything else. Or some of them, they do say that you may pay a certain percentage of the house bills. And the house bills, that is the utilities, that is water, electricity, heating, and recycling, and maybe Wi-Fi. I paid $500 in my basement. Excuse me. Yeah, so, excuse me. I paid $500 and that was a beautiful basement. You may also want to rent either an apartment or a condo. And when I say apartment or a condo, the main difference between these two is you will be paying condo fees when you live in a condo. And condo fees usually constitute of insurance and the general maintenance of the property. So that is usually the main difference. And the apartments and condos, you can get either 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, or 3 bedrooms. That is going to be dictated by the size of your family. The good things with those kind of housing is you're not responsible for the general maintenance of the property. So you're not removing snow, you're not maintaining the backyard and all that kind of stuff. So that is taken care of by the condo or the apartment management. They are cheaper also. I said that you can get apartments 1 bedroom for about 1,000, 2 bedrooms for about 1,200, and 3 bedrooms all the way up to maybe 1,500. But that depends also on the budget. You can get even expensive ones, depends on how much money that you have. Okay? Yeah. If you do not want that, you can take attached houses. And attached houses here, we have duplexes and townhomes. So these ones are, like row houses. So they are also cheaper than single homes. And those ones, depends also on your size, on the size of your family and the budget that you have. Mostly, some of them you may find that you're paying condo fees, some you're not paying condo fees. So depending on whether you're paying condo fees, that is going to determine who is taking care of the property maintenance. Okay? You may also want to get yourself a single home. That is a home that stands on its own. We have 2 types. There's the land homes, and we have the front attached garage home. So whatever is your budget, knock yourself out. So whatever works out for you, if you want that kind, you go for it. Okay? When I talk of utilities, every home, on top of paying rent, you're going to be paying for utilities, and more so for this, apart from the basement, all the others you're going to be paying for utilities. You're going to pay for water, heating, electricity, recycling, internet, that is Wi-Fi and that kind of stuff, TV. So, but the general maintenance, the repairs, that is upon the landlord to take care of that. Another thing that I just want to mention, when you're renting a house, here almost every house, like 99% of the homes, it doesn't matter what it is, it comes with all appliances. So you're not going to be buying yourself a fridge, a stove, a dishwasher, a washer and dryer. Those ones are usually included in every house. So the only thing that you bring when you move into a house, if it's not furnished, you're going to bring your furniture and your clothes and yourself and nothing else. Okay? All right. If you're living in a single home, you are responsible for removing snow. I don't know if I mentioned that, but it's up to you to remove snow, and it's also up to you to maintain the backyards and the grounds of that property. Okay? If you have money, you can also buy a house, right? You can buy a house if you have good money. I'll make a video that talks about how to buy your first home here in Canada. So where do you get a house for rent? Right? You may find that when you're walking down neighborhoods, there are homes which are listed for rent, but then again, maybe you're not here. One place you can always be looking for is online. We have online platforms whereby people list their homes for rent. And the main ones, I'm just going to talk about the main ones. You can find that on Kijiji. So if you go to Kijiji, Canada, or Kijiji, whichever city, if you go to Kijiji, Calgary, and then you go rent a house, you're going to be able to filter and look for a house depending on the size of the house, number of bedrooms, bathrooms, your budget, location, neighborhood, all that. So you are able to look for a house on Kijiji, and it is free to get a house on Kijiji. Fine, of course, you're going to be paying rent, but you don't have to pay any subscription there. Another one that is really good is Rent Faster. I'm also going to be putting the links for those platforms. Rent Faster. When you go on rentfaster.com, it's mainly for houses for rent. So you can also filter and get whatever house you're looking for. You can look at the photos before you even go to see the house. Another way to get a house is talking to a realtor. If you have a realtor, talk to a realtor. They know all the properties, they know the neighborhoods, they know everything. So you may want to talk to a realtor. Usually you can rent houses for short term or long term. Whichever you choose, you're going to be signing a lease agreement. So, and to sign a lease agreement when you're renting, they may need a few things. They may need references, they may need employment documents, just so that they know that you can afford to pay for their rent. Okay? All in all, if you're new and you are on budget, my take is a basement is the cheapest option. It's always a nice way to start up, and you can get a basement even in an expensive neighborhood, and you're going to enjoy all the benefits of that expensive or high-end neighborhood. Okay, all right. One thing I just want to mention here, because it's been coming up in my consultations, is that people think that living in a shelter is an option. No. Living in a shelter is not an option unless you are in a vulnerable state, because shelters here are for emergency situations. So shelter is not a form of accommodation. Please, they are not the best. They are there to save people who are facing homelessness or who are facing a certain bad emergency, like, someone who is running away from domestic violence, people who are affected by challenges of drug abuse and stuff like that. So please do not come thinking that you can live in a shelter. It's not the best way. If you can bring some money that you can live on for a month. That is, if you can. So if you're in a position, you do not, even if you're a refugee claimant, there's no requirement that says that because you're a refugee claimant, you must live in a shelter. No, you can live in shared accommodation, and you live in a decent place, and then you leave the shelter for the people who really need shelters, because believe you me, there are people who need those shelters. Okay, all right, I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you very much. I'll see you at my next video. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe and share this video. Okay, thank you so much. Have a good night. Bye now.